Hi, I'm going to tell you today about a new update to Grid in version 73, which is due out a public release in March and will be available on early access later this month in February. So one of the things that's changing with the change grid set command is that if you add text to the chat window of one grid set, do whatever you need to do in that grid set, then return to a previous grid set via a change grid set command, the text that's been left in the chat writing area will be remembered. Previously, any language left in a chat writing area will be lost as you switch grid sets. So a useful scenario to think about there might be, for example, switching between two conversations in two different languages. The example I'm about to show you will show me switching between SuperCore in English and SuperCore in French, and I've got these two here to do that. And it will show how two conversations are stored separately in the chat writing areas of each respective language grids. So I'll jump into SuperCore English. I'll begin to write a phrase. On my Magic One page, I've set up a simple change grid set command here. And for those of you that have not used that command before, just a reminder that if I create a cell, the command is change grid set, and I specify which grid set I want to jump to. I'll then replicate that cell in my other grid set. So I'm going to jump. It's jumped into a French grid set. I can write something. Again, I can use the change grid set command. I've replicated the change grid set command, but this time jumping back to the previous grid set. And as I jump, you will see that the language I started with in the first grid set has been remembered. So the second key change is how the back buttons work when you're using a change grid set command. So I'm here in my English grid set. The change that has happened is that on my home page here, I have a jump back command as you'd expect. If I jump to a different grid set, write a key phrase whilst not moving from this landing page, from the home page in this instance, and then use the back button, it will jump back to the grid that I was last on. In which case this was on a different grid set. So it's jumped not only to my previous grid set, but also it remembers the page that I was on. So if I land at the grid set that I set up and start jumping around in this grid set, so I'm moving through, I'm making some additional changes. The back button will still use the back button in the normal way, but it remembers how many jumps you've made. So if you make, let's say, 6 jumps and then do 6 continuous back buttons, in this case it was about 4, you can see that I do eventually jump back to my previous grid set. So it's almost like an undo button, remembering how many jumps you made. So that back button will still remain active as a potential to take you back to the previous grid set. It's a rare case where that would happen, I think, but something to be aware of. So another application to think about here might be to use a change grid set command on a switch. I'm going to set up a scenario where I've got a fast talker and a simple eye gaze monitor grid set. This is a one-page grid set with a simple check of my track status for an eye gaze user. If I go into fast talker for a moment, and then go to settings, access, switches, and then to commands, I've added a switch. I've added a change grid set to switch one. So I can add a command, which I've done, change grid set, and I've told it to jump to the eye gaze monitor grid set whenever I press switch one. Click on OK. So I'm going to begin to write something. I then want to check my track status, and I want to do that with an accessory switch. It might be I want to use an adaptive button that someone else can press. I'm going to press my switch now, it jumps to uh, my track status window. And when I use the back button, as before, it's going to jump back to the previous grid set. Even though this is not a change grid set command, this is a simple jump back cell. Going to jump back to the grid set. It's also going to remember where I was in that grid set and the language that I was holding in my chat writing area. So two key changes I think to note. One is the way in which the back button is working with change grid sets. It'll remember as long as you haven't, um, it'll remember the grid that you last came from the landing page of the grid set you landed, but also the way in which language is remembered in the chat writing area. Okay, thanks ever so much for watching. If you have any questions, do feel free please to let me know or to contact the support team. Thanks again.